Lia Montelongo, who played Sindel.
Good morning.
Dr. Phillip Ahn, who played Shang Tsung.
Good afternoon.
And Sal DiVita played Nightwolf, Sector, and Cyrax.
And Smoke.
And Smoke.
Can't get any credit, right? Morning, everybody.
So, there's so many amazing stories that we've heard from all the celebrities that come to our Mortal Kombat events, and every time it's just amazing hearing the history of how things came to be, and the making of a game that could draw so many people from all over the world. And the fact that these celebrities come and share their history with us is something that it's not really feasible on any other game, because it's having the actors film it. It's just a process that not many games utilize. So I guess, Daniel, we'll start with you. If you can tell us a little bit about when you were filming for Mortal Kombat, and what your expectations were and what you thought was going to happen. And it was obviously something that had never really been attempted before. And just tell us what you were thinking as when you were in that time period when you were filming Mortal Kombat.
No.
Next question.
The answer is 7. Oh, you don't get it. Anyway. Welcome to the first Kombat Con. Hopefully there will be many more. Thanks for coming out. Right across from you. Yeah. Actually, I had the luxury of being on the project with no expectations. You know, I got a phone call from John a couple of times asking me to call him back. You know, when you're younger, you're retarded, you don't want to call your friend back, and you're like, hey, when you hear their voice, there's going to be work involved, and close to slave labor work involved, you kind of don't want to call him back. But yeah, eventually we called him back, and he asked me to help him pitch a project. He had a project in mind, and he wanted to make a fighting game, a live fighting game. He had myself, my brother Carlos, and Rich to come into Cooper to Midway to shoot some video that he was going to use to pitch his idea. So at that point, we knew that really nothing was expected because we didn't know exactly what the project was doing. So, you know, we kind of winged, as you probably heard, we winged a lot of it.
Cool. John, when you had come on board in Mortal Kombat 2, were you familiar with the success of the original Mortal Kombat, and how exactly did you come aboard? Like, who brought you into the project?
Good morning, everybody, and again, thanks for coming on out here and supporting us. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So you serve the big game. 30 burpees now! Let's see, I was familiar with the game because Johnny, we were all working at Lakeshore Athletic Club, and they came in with this game, and frankly, I'm old school. I'm Miss Pac-Man, one joystick, 2 buttons. And they came in with this game, and I'm like, oh, this rocks. And, you know, Johnny was like, man, so how is it? How do you like it? I said, it's a good game. The kids are going to love it. You know? And I made one joke. I still remember this. And I said, you know what? Great game, but there's no brothers in the game. Well, we don't play. You know, and next thing I know, you know, a couple weeks later, they come back with a sketch, you know, of Jax, you know, and I'm like, wow, man, that dude's real. That could be you. Really? Yeah. Do I get paid? Yeah. I'm in. What do we do? How do we do it? And you know, the rest is history after that, you know, and there was no expectations, as Johnny said. Everything was, you know, okay, we're going to do this move. Can you do this? Can I hold this? And then, can you do flips? Sure, I can do flips. How many can you do? How many do you want me to do? And then, you know, and then, so like he said, we were winging a lot of stuff, but it was fun. So it was no pressure. We didn't have to read a script. You know, and everybody we worked with in the little mob calls what I call it. You know, and we just had a ball with it, you know, so, but that's how I got into the game, and you know, like I said, I was, you know, somewhat familiar with it, not to the extent, you know, that Johnny and them were in the beginning and developing it and everything like that, but it's been fun. I can say that much. It's even better now.
Hello. Hi. Okay, so I don't know, maybe you know or not, but I got into the game actually through John. I was dating Brian Glenn, who played Shao Kahn, and they were looking for a female who was in shape. So I kind of happened to be at the right place at the right time. So John actually got Brian the role of Shao Kahn, and then I came in and auditioned for Sindel, and I got cast, so we're super excited. But again, you know, we were all we had no idea really. We were really excited about the project, and I think, you know, John Tobias and Ed, you fall in love with them, and, you know, well, no, I kind of fell in love with you then also, but, no, I mean, yes, he did, wait, did you help me with you helped me with, yeah, anyway, that'll be that's an answer for another question. So then the next thing I knew, I was there, and you know, again, sketches and costume fitting and the 30-pound wig that I had to wear for Sindel. But then just being on set and being, you know, in front of that green screen and, hey, can you kick? Yeah, how many times can you kick? Can you sit on this staircase and just hold a pose? Can you run on a treadmill? This was one of my favorite parts, was running on a woodway treadmill with nothing except the belt. So that's, as John can testify, that is some core strength, because when that belt stops, you stop. And then, you know, doing some drop backs on the big gymnastics pad and the wig, like pulling me. But yeah, it was fun. And then coming back in to play for Serena was a lot of fun too. There was a little bit of acting, and we had a great time with Rich, as you guys know, his personality. So it was really a great experience. And then I did model for Tanya at an E3 show, but it was basically an animation at that point. So Sindel and Serena were definitely a lot of fun, and I would do it again. And it's great to have you guys and your support 20 years later, 22, 25, yeah. I was 19 when I filmed Sindel. It's like last year. Yeah. So thank you guys for coming out today. It's great to have you.
What's the question?
Tell us about how you became involved with the Mortal Kombat project.
That's what happens when you get old.
He should know. Alright. So, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a physician, an MD. Actually, if you beat the game, the credits say Phillip Ahn MD, because I was in residency when I filmed the game. Interestingly, when I was in medical school, for a study break, I would go to the gym and lift. Sometimes I'll do martial arts, and that's where I met Ho Sung and Ho Young Pak. And we would train together sometimes, usually Ho Young and I sparred sometimes. And I usually won. But anyway, I continued my studies, and they became part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. They were involved in it, and then so was Daniel and so forth. And then when I came back to the Chicagoland area for residency, I just happened to run into Ho Sung, who, if you get to know him, he likes to talk, and so does Daniel there. They talk too much. But anyway, so he was talking about this video game that he had just filmed, and that I should check it out, and I didn't know much about video games, sort of like Jax here, but instead of Pac-Man, I used to play Pong, and, but anyway, yeah. So, and Ho-Sung invited me to go to come to Lakeshore Athletic Club and train with his friends who were Daniel, Tony Marquez, who went to my high school, but he was 2 years behind me, so he knew my brother, but he didn't really know me there. I just knew of him, that was it. So we were training, and then before I knew it, I mean, Mortal Kombat was everywhere, and Daniel introduced me to John Tobias and Ed Boon, and they liked what I could do, and I guess that how I looked was sufficient enough, kind of like, you know, Greg Brady and the Brady Bunch, remember? He fit the suit, do you remember? Yeah, but, so then after that, Daniel approached me and said, we would like you to be in the second game. You want to play Young Shang Tsung or the Ninjas? And I said, well, the Ninjas are covered up, and you already played them in the first game, so keep that role. I'll play Shang Tsung. So that's how it happened, just like that. And you know, we were very popular, as they said. We really want to thank you for your support because we were popular back then. I remember going to autograph signings at martial arts tournaments and so forth. I remember one night, Ernie Reyes Jr. and Sr. were being inducted into the Black Belt Hall of Fame, and they had a booth, and we had a booth. Nobody went to their booth, and everyone was in a long line for our booth. so we were really popular back then, and we signed past midnight. I remember at the Junior Taekwondo Olympics here at Rosemont. I remember, yeah, it was some nights were really long, but it was fun. And then it was quiet for a long time, and then Facebook and Doc, Galloping Ghost and so forth resurrected our fame, and here we are. Thank you very much, Doc, as well as all of you guys.
I actually got to Midway in the 90s there. I was, as a computer artist, I came to Midway as a developer. So when Mortal Kombat 1 was first being prototyped by Danny, that's when I first got there. It was literally just Johnny Cage versus Johnny Cage on the arcade machine. They had like a prototype arcade machine that people would come out and test things. And as the game was being developed, they burn new ROMs and we get to see what's going on. And I walked in to the studio like my first week there and stumbled on the Mortal Kombat game and just started playing a little bit, and the nut punch, boom, like holy hell, and then the uppercut, boom, because I was a huge game nut even at that time. And I was like, oh my God, and was freaking out at just the cool visuals that, like Danny's costume, his movements, his poses, like all the stuff that made Johnny Cage what he was, the essence of Johnny Cage. I was immediately hooked by. I mean, immediately. You got caged. I got caged. Don't ever say that again. So I was a fan of Mortal Kombat, and I was there for a couple of years making games. Like NBA Jam was my first game, and then after that we did a sequel, and then started making a wrestling game called WrestleMania, arcade game. And I was the prototype wrestler for that game. Like I dressed up in a spandex suit and oiled myself up, and like we were trying moves out, kind of the prototype thing that Danny did, except I knew that I would never get used for that because we wanted the real guys. But in doing all that, all this leads to how I got involved with the game. John and Ed would, I guess, I was always kind of animated. I'm not sure if anybody's ever seen me be that way, but I was always a little animated, even in the studio, like as we were, because we're all friends, as we interact on a daily basis, I would be doing little skits, and we'd all do little skits of ourselves getting knocked into walls or whatever. And so they said, hey, you're crazy. Do you want to be in Mortal Kombat 3? And I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And then John shows me the sketch of Nightwolf. I'm like, yeah, I could probably do that. And he had a face on there, kind of like this. And I'm like, yeah, I can maybe do something like that. And so they shot me for that, and then because I was convenient, I was in the studio, and I was cheap. I don't even think I got paid for it. It was like turning the clock. It's like, so I shot for however many days for that, and then they go, hey, you're cheap and you're here. Why don't you wear this mask? And it was, the Sector mask. And I'm like, okay. And so I did more, another character, and then another character, and then the same outfit. We just shot another character, which was Cyrax. And then they just kept changing the palettes, and we shot more moves for it. But that was essentially how I got involved. I was just convenient and cheap, free, and and because of the animation and just the style of movements and whatever, they thought that that's how I got involved. But an amazing experience, and we all worked together. So even during the shooting of Mortal Kombat 3, I would learn stuff for the games that I was working on for WrestleMania. And then back and forth, we both trade tricks. At least I'll tell myself that. But I think that we both benefited from each other's knowledge base in doing that, making each game better and better and better as we evolved through the years. So that's my contribution to that, and that's how it happened. And that's about it. And then, in the future, Mortal Kombat 4, I did motion capture for that game as well. So I'm not sure if motion capture was a new thing, and that was something that I helped pioneer for Midway for NFL Blitz. I think Blitz was the first game that used a motion capture system. And then we just incorporated a lot of that knowledge into Mortal Kombat 4, and that's about it. I want to give credit. Earlier I said something about me being Smoke. I want to make sure everybody knows I was the robot Smoke. Danny was the original Smoke. I saw him glaring at me going, "You're not fucking Smoke." Smoke. Robot Smoke. Real Smoke. Okay. All right, we good?
Yesterday, Ho-Sung was here for the first. I had not seen him since '94, probably. But anyway, so I think there's only one picture. I took it and I posted it of the three original Shang Tsung: Ho-Sung, myself, and John Turk. So if you guys see it, the only one.
Tell us a little bit more about the actual filming process and how you were able to, did you contribute to the movesets, or was it all predetermined? And what, if anything, did you find particularly challenging with the moves that you were trying to perform?
Well, as far as there were, for the first two games, well, especially for the first game, the only limitation was as much pain as you can withstand. The first few, to take example, the first few times, I would get okay, we need some kind of punch. So John and I would go through a series of different types of punches and different types of strikes to see what would turn out in a video game. So that was one, wasn't that bad. Just a lot of repetition and goofing around. Things that were challenging would be hey, we need to film today. Okay, let's get together and film. Oh, I forgot to ask my dad for the camera because John's dad owned the camera for filming. So we didn't, at the time, Midway didn't actually own a camera, or maybe even we weren't allowed to use the camera because we were so on the bottom of the Yeah, exactly. So that limitation. Also, the first time, it was always hey, let's do something cool. And then, okay, go ahead. And so I would kind of, out of my geekiness, pick out different things to do. So there was really no limitations as long as we were willing to do it. Also, during the first filming, we didn't have a crash mat, and we were filming on concrete. So I would do fall down on concrete. And then later on, I told John, hey John, if we bring somebody else in, they won't want to do falling down on concrete. that's crazy, you know? And he's like, okay, we'll get a mat. So, but as you see us right now, just joking around, that was, at least from my experience, that was a conflict during the making. It always made it easier to work with somebody that, you know, you're always goofing around with, or, you know, had a friendship with. So, yeah, it was fun times.
Hey Danny, I think that you could even talk about, one of the things that I remember distinctly about the very first one is the different poses, even as like styles that you guys started, you and your brother, and then everybody subsequent after that, is the idol poses and how like where they came from, like what were the influences for those idol poses, because they were unique and they were, I think, like set a great character reference for that character. So where did those come from?
Yeah, as far as we were first, actually when we were first pitching the game, we met a couple times to try to decide like what kind of, we wanted to make it real. So an example is Rich was Kano, but he wanted to use praying mantis as a style for his character. So he was trying to pluck a lot of moves out of a particular style. Johnny Cage was like doing like long fist. Raiden was doing Southern styles. Like after the movie, when we watched Big Trouble in Little China, that the Raiden in that movie did Southern styles. So Carlos picked a lot of Southern styles. Scorpion actually has like a insect style. Not praying mantis, but I picked a lot of moves out of different insect styles. Kind of creepy, but you know. So yeah, 5 deadly venoms, exactly. So a lot of the creation and personality actually happened while we were actually filming. Again, there was no expectation because you're going to make a coin-operated video game. There's not a lot of story in it, you know. So a lot of times we were just kind of like, okay, we're going to do this, or I refuse to do that. Meaning like Johnny for the ninjas was Johnny was like, okay, we're going to have these Japanese ninjas. No offense. And I was like, I'm not doing Japanese ninjas because Japanese ninjas are overdone. You see every movie out, and it has a Japanese ninja. And I was like, John, there's also a Chinese version of a ninja, which they dress a little bit different, but they're still a ninja. And you know, I lent in my book, Skill of the Vagabonds, and then from there, the Lin Kuei was born. You know, so yeah, it was fun stuff. Fly by the seat of your pants. Goof around all the time, you know. It was good.
Well, I didn't really find much difficult about it except for when they were painting my arms. That took 6 hours because the makeup artist came in with 2 little vials of silver paint and a little brush and a magic marker. And then he saw my arms as he began to paint and says, we're going to need more paint. I said, you think? So when he had me stand there for about an hour and a half while he go and gets more paint, I had to put my hands on it was an old mic stand back there and like a mop or something or a broom. And I had to hang out like that. And every now and then I was able to sit down and we'd find a chair. He had painted them all where I couldn't move them without the paint being stuck on, you know, my body or smearing somewhere. But other than that, the other difficult part was they were trying to position me on the stairs for the flying kick. It took John Tobias, I think Danny, you helped too that day, to hold me in place on this wooden step and just to get the shot of me flying through. I'm like, no, I was not made to do this. But other than that, no, you know, I didn't find anything difficult about doing it. It was just fun. You know, they asked me to do something fine. You know, they said, well, what do you think about a move? You know, I slam my fist out. Hey, we can use that. And, you know, and then I said, well, what other moves? I mean, you know, Luke Cage was flying through there with a butterfly kick, and Johnny had all his fancy moves. I said, you know, they gave me the boomerang thing, and, you know, and so that's, you know, for my gist of it, you know, how we contribute or I contribute, you know, just like yeah, let's try this. And I throw it out there, they say, good. And then, of course, with all of the flips, the high kicks, yeah, I was able to do all of those then. A little bit now, not as graceful, but other than that, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, it was just a lot of fun. I mean, there was no pressure. Some people thought, like, what, you were an actor? I was like, no, we were just people. Just like, like when we were kids, playing, pretending like we're playing karate. And that's all we were doing. Except we making the game that all of you love now and embrace, and we are thankful for that.
So Sindel, I'd have to say probably the hardest thing is the wig. It was like a 30-pound wig that David Mikicic, who was my assistant, had about 100 bobby pins in my hair with the wig, and so that was really the most difficult. And then the costuming, because it was a costume, and we were pulling it together as we were going along. They knew what they wanted me to wear, but we had to make some alterations. I did my own makeup for Sindel. It was just, we were there, we just made it happen. The physical aspect of it was really fun for me. I too had to sit on the stair, the classic pose. I handled that well. And then just being able to, do my flying Sindel pose was really just something that they're like, well, how would you pose at the end of your victory, the end of winning, your fight? I'm like, perfect, we got it. Don't move. Yeah, and then I mentioned before, just running on the Woodway treadmill, that was really kind of surreal to me. And luckily, when I did the back falls, we had a crash mat at that point. So thanks for that. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. And then when we got to film Serena, that was a little bit more involved. I had a script, so that was kind of fun. I didn't have many lines. But it was great fun. And again, too, I think you can see that it was really organic, and we all wanted to be a part of this creation. And I think that's why it turned out the way that it did, is because we brought our best talent and skill set to these amazing creators, and it was a great concept and very timely with gaming. And so it's very cool, to sit here now and look back and think, like you said, it was just us playing pretend, really, dressed up in costume, but we all did us, and I think that's what is really great, is that we are actually all of our characters, like we are really them in ways. Yeah, I have 3 different personalities. That's on a good day.
The biggest challenge by far for me was trying to grow a goatee. I know. So finally, I gave up, and John Tobias painted a goatee on me before filming. Then the second biggest challenge was not having these flimsy, what is this called? Vest, suspenders keep falling off while I was doing my kicks and so forth. So some of this I have original footage from my filming, so I've been posting snippets on my fan page on Facebook. And so some of it you can see how flimsy these suspenders were. So aside from that, actually, my filming was easy. I was done in 4 hours. And maybe the only challenge would be that, I wasn't used to being on the stairs, so Daniel sometimes had to reposition my back foot when I'm supposedly leaping in the air and punching. Just simple stuff like that. But that was it. And then maybe, my background is Taekwondo, and Chang Sung is not Korean. I don't know if you guys know that. But, so I had to do more Chinese moves, and some of the moves that I suggested for the game, kicks and so forth, that are from Taekwondo, didn't get put in the game because they didn't really fit the character. I wish, like the tornado around the houses, and high kick, and what else? Actually, not that this is Taekwondo, but I put a video of me doing a flip, and they didn't use it. So, oh well. So, no real big challenges for me.
I think the biggest challenge for Phillip is everyone confusing him with Hosan. When we're going to conventions, they're like, "Oh, Liu Kang is here with you."
Believe it or not, my cousins thought I was Liu Kang. Shortly after filming, like I remember getting together for Thanksgiving, and I had to tell them, "No, I'm not Liu Kang. I'm Shang."
You should totally have taken credit for that. Yes, I am Liu Kang as well. Thank you. I think for me, the hardest thing about the shoot was anything having to do with high kicks or doing something truly flexible and martial artsy, because I'm not a true martial artist at all. I took some of Danny's classes early on, and I have the flexibility of like an 87-year-old man who's been in the ground for about 7 years. So like I can't get a kick above anything, and that was like one of the biggest challenges. As far as doing all the moves, very fun. As Danny was saying, and Lee was saying, it's very organic. As you're talking about what you want to do, you kind of like iterate on it, and you joke around. You'll make a joke. What about something like this? And then they're like, oh, that's actually pretty good. And like tone it down a little bit, but yeah, that's actually pretty good. And so you create these. I can't remember anything off the top of my head, but there was a great deal of fun and inventiveness when we were just shooting and playing around. Even the falls, my favorite part, of course, is taking hits for whatever reason, and falling and flopping and whatever. So I'd flop in the ground and like convulse, and you do these weird things, flip backwards or whatever. And some of it was a little bit too over the top, but some of it ended up being something that people enjoyed, and we ended up doing in future versions of the game. But I think that one of the things to note is a lot of these supernatural moves that we did were simply like just poses that then got animated after the fact by the developers. Because you do these poses, and remember, these are these digitized images. So you take a camera, you shoot it, record all the video of it, then the animator has to go back and then cut every frame of animation out, pixel by pixel. We had the worst tools ever, and that green screen, not even usable, just pixel at a time. Because for my games, I had to do the same thing. It was like, that was our technologies. We got to cut things out. We developed in-house tools to make it a little easier, but then animating it after the fact was quite the challenge. But the poses that were created by the actors were the things I think that made everything so memorable. So, credit to everybody. You have to give credit to the actors, credit to the people that designed the movesets, and then in the studio, the actors and the designers evolving the moves to something else, something fun and better than what you'd expected, better than what you could write. So back to just, I guess, what was challenging about it. Anything to do with a high kick. I think John had to actually take my leg and break it in digital, magic to get higher and to position it where it needed to be, because I couldn't do anything with that. So, that's about it. That's all I can remember. And everything else was just fun. It was natural, and taking falls was fun.
And I think it's kind of interesting if you think about the game itself and how, it's kind of viewed upon as being aggressive. It's a fighting game. There's a lot of blood and gore, and it was, kind of the first of its kind in that way too. And us as the actors had so much fun you know, and I think that's a really interesting, you know, fact to think about, that this game, and if people could recognize that gaming itself is a positive, you know, a way to release stress, and if it's recognized that it's a game, you know, we are characters in the game, but you can also, you know, have fun and enjoy the process too, just as you should in your own daily Mortal Kombat, because we all have it every day, right? Every day.
So speaking on that and just having fun, it wouldn't be the same game unless we did have fun in the studio, and that, I think that helps convey what everybody else likes about it too. And as an example, talking about getting hit, I was just thinking, why did I like taking the hits so much? But the reason is because Mortal Kombat was about the reactions, how it made you feel to hit somebody. And most of that, like in professional wrestling, I happen to be a pro wrestling fan too, most of that is the reaction of the person taking the hit. Because in acting, you can't really hit somebody as hard as you want. You can pose and pretend and throw your body motion in like you are hitting them as hard as you want, but the reaction is most of the sell. So what in the early Mortal Kombats, the fun of, you know, the poses and just the ridiculous poses that people would get into for the reactions helped make you feel like, oh my God, I just destroyed that person's face, and it felt really good to do that. And all the blood shooting out, whatever, and the way you fall, like just the funny poses, because everybody loves like bike wrecks and you see people wipe out on the internet or whatever. And it's because you like to see people just get destroyed in certain, like Family Guy, you know, like people land, they're always landing in really weird ways. And everybody just loves to see that. And that's part of what I think Mortal Kombat did, like even in the very first you versus you, is the reactions felt so satisfying along with the attacks. So it's really important. Those reactions are really important. So.
One of the most standout things about Mortal Kombat for me has been the community behind it. And you have such tremendously dedicated fans, have traveled all over the world, and you're also amazing that you take time and spend time with each one of them and talk with them. And can you tell us a little bit some of the most standout run-ins with fans, whether it be when the games came out or at events like this?
I'll share yesterday. Is my tattoo Serena guy here today? No. So last year when I came to the arcade, I had a fan come out and visit, and he actually has a tattoo of Serena, my character, on his thigh. And I took a photo with him last year, and he came out yesterday to support, and I took my second photo with him. That's a huge compliment to think that somebody really resonated with the character so much so that they want it tattooed on their body. So that's just a huge compliment to me. That would probably be one of the most outstanding ones.
MK fans are the best. For real. All you guys are the best. I want to share, I get to travel to South America to do events. I speak Spanish, so they really, and some of you probably already heard this story, so I talk a lot, forgive me. But I'm getting off the plane in Paraguay. And as I'm getting off the plane, three guys, two in uniform, one with an automatic weapon, approach me. And they look at me and they're like, "Can I have your passport?" And then I was like, I figured, okay, they're gonna pat me down or something like that. And I give them my passport, and the guy with the more official looking uniform goes, "Welcome to Paraguay, Master Pesina." And I kind of look at him, and he's like, "Follow me." And we cut through customs line, the whole line of customs. Everybody's just watching me go, and We get to the booth, we cut in front of everybody, the guy puts us down and goes, Master Pesina is here to visit us. And the guy looks at him, like straightens up, looks at him, stamps my passport, gives it to him, and then gives me back my passport, and he's like, welcome to Paraguay, Master Pesina. So took me about 2 minutes to get through customs, which was really amazing. All because later on, I find out that he just loves Mortal Kombat. And he's like, oh, this is my son and daughter, and on Sunday night, we get together and all play Mortal Kombat. My wife, myself, and my 2 children. And what other video game do you get that out of? Yeah, you guys are awesome.
I thought for sure you were going to say, like, and I walked in and there were these banners hanging off of the buildings with my face on it. It was amazing. They've been worshiping me for 11 years. I didn't even know that.
Actually, that's happened, not quite that, but I've had like, when I went to Chile, I had about 30 people greet me at the airport with like banners, welcome to Chile. Yeah, it's kind of, MK fans are really fanatic.
Daniel might be used to this because he's traveled more for MK, but we went to Argentina together, and I was on stage for the first time with him, just like this, except it was, thousands of fans out there, and yeah, I mean, we were treated like rock stars down there, and like just like at rock concerts, they wanted to touch our hands as we got off the stage, and then he performed his what's that called? Rope dart, and they wanted me to do something, but I had jeans on. I don't want to do something simple, so I asked in Spanish if anyone knew how to bachata out there, and so a girl in a Raiden's uniform, costume, came on stage and we danced bachata, and they went crazy, and then did the ole ole and my name afterwards, so that was fun.
Again, for Phillip, like when he was done dancing, really, they were like, ole, 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 Shang Tsung, ole. They kept on yelling that.
That was fun.
And as he's leaving, there's mothers asking him to kiss their baby. And I was like, Phillip, have you been here before? But yeah, it is true. They asked him to, oh, here, touch my baby, kiss my baby. It was like, they were afraid he'd steal their soul or something. They were like a rock star, man.
Mortal Kombat fans you guys are truly amazing. Especially my friends from Malta, from Luxembourg. I've never been to these countries, but when I speak to you guys, we take time to chat, and I learned so much about you, your culture. It transcends Mortal Kombat, or Mortal Kombat has transcended everything. There's no race, there's no politics, there's no color. It's truly amazing. And when I try to convey that to, my fellow Americans here, a lot of them don't get it. And I said, you are just here in this bubble. I said, you think Mortal Kombat is just a video game. It is much, much bigger than that. I said, it is a world united, okay, where everything that you argue about, that you cry about, does not exist. You guys are the most loving community, that I've ever seen. And I've been in entertainment for years, okay? My father was a musician, and I've never seen this. This is, when, Doc got us back together and we started friending you guys and, and accepting the request. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta have a whole new Facebook page just for y'all. I'm kind of like, who are these people? So-and-so's birthday, and you guys hit me up and you just want to talk, you ask advice, and it's truly honored, to feel that from people, from a video game. So it is totally true. You guys are the best. And you should know that. And all of the people around, if they say you're crazy, and then all thing I can tell you is say, look at them and say,
Yeah, John, it's interesting that you're saying that, John, because I get a lot of, whenever you talk about anything to do with Mortal Kombat, the judgment of people that only watch the news, from 20 years ago. And they right, like the judgment that, oh, Mortal Kombat, you make bad kids, you make my kids all terrible because all they want to do is rip hearts out of people. It's like, okay, how many kids have ripped a heart out of anybody? How many kids have taken the spine off of the back of anybody? And like, they're not even strong enough to do that. I mean, come on, no. But seriously, I think that there's something to be said for just like in any book, like in any show, like in anything. It's a creative way of an outlet, of having this outlet where you're just like, it's funny, it's comical. People can separate the two. And I think when if those people could see everybody, the real people that appreciate the game for what it is, I think it totally changed their tune. But unfortunately, the media, the news media of it's so easy to, oh, violent video games, are they ruining our children? Are they doing this? It's like, let's look beyond that. Let's look at what's on TV every day. Look at the politics of what people are saying on the news every day.
Sorry, I just want to interject on that because actually this morning when we were at breakfast, somebody asked if I would let my son play Mortal Kombat, and I have a son, he just turned 6, his name is Honor. He's amazing, thank you. He doesn't think I'm so cool. His friends are like, that's like your mom's Sindel from where he's like, Mom, is dinner ready? Yes. But in all actuality, my son has already been exposed to Mortal Kombat and images of it because of what I do and because, we've come now to Galloping Ghost, 2, 3, this is our 3rd year, I think, my 3rd year. Yeah, so he's already been exposed to it, but my answer is yes, I'm gonna let him play. I want him to be understanding of what it is and that it is actually a game and that, we have so many other things to worry about that if he wants to participate in gaming, as long as he's not demonstrating that it's something negatively impacting him, he is good to go. And
you can't protect kids from all the input that they're getting from all around. What you can do is just try to help them process it properly.
And that's exactly why I would do that, is I'd rather be the one to expose him to something that I know he's going to do anyway. So why not give him an understanding from why I even got involved in the game, how I could be this character and proudly be these characters, because I think that's going to help him get a healthier perspective of what gaming is and what the game is about. I mean, MK10X is much more graphic, but it's current. So I need to educate my son on what is current.
And so all this rolls back around to the original question, believe it or not, of the fans. We appreciate that you guys understand and appreciate what it is. And please don't rip anybody's head off, and please don't tear anybody's hearts out. What? If you've already done it, you're protected under the grandfather clause, but don't do it anymore. Just try not to do that.
Wait. One caveat.
You have permission to do the gotcha grab and punch the hell out of him. Yeah, baby.
If you're a transplant surgeon, then you can rip people's head. Only if you are. Okay. Yeah.
And again, all weekend it has been just so absolutely amazing seeing the camaraderie between everybody. And it is what has made the franchise, I think, so successful is the actors that are able to kind of tie it all together, and it's able to be more in touch with a character, just because you can go up and you can go talk to Johnny Cage or Jax, and it's have some Tito's with Johnny Cage, and it's
We're going to the trails, baby. Obstacle course racing next
concern about violence, to see how over the years it has brought so many people together it is absolutely something unique, and it's something that, whether it's within this community, again, some people will never get it, but it is something that has made the Mortal Kombat fans and everybody who came out to Kombat Con, it's just so amazing to see it. And again, thank you to everybody who was with Mortal Kombat from the start, and everybody here is grateful to what you have done and helped create very, very much. So I think we're going to be doing a little bit larger QA in a bit, but does anybody have any questions for the panel?
No.
Don't ask Daniel, because then we'll be here for...
Only if you dance around and say, Johnny Cage is not afraid to die.
No, but as you guys said, you guys would just just improv and do like different moves while you were filming, and you would just do random stuff. And some people would like it and put it in the game, but what moves or special moves or fatalities did you guys personally come up with, and did they approve and put it in the game? Like, which move specifically did you guys make yourself?
Like I said, it was an evolution. So the designers, like John and Ed, and the team, John Vogel and the guys that you've seen, they have a shot list. So they actually come into the shoot, of course, designing a whole character out. This is the gist of this character. These are the things we want to do. This is this move slot, this is this move slot, what have you. It evolves from there, and it can evolve from there. And I don't even remember, I can't even specify an exact move because it's always an organic evolution of the move. So you can never really take credit, personal credit for anything, because it always stems from something else. You start with this, you move up to this, you goof around, you make a joke, it changes direction a little bit, it goes here, and then and then you try a few things, and you're like, you know what, I like that last one, but just do this right here. So I couldn't even remember any one in particular, except, I can't remember one in particular. And I'd hate to even say anything because it would make it seem like it was, my idea, but really it always stems from an evolution of what the designers start with, on the moveset. So,
Also, was there anything that you were like, oh, this has to be in the game, that they're like, no, you can't do that?
everything I said is, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, they always said no to you. I don't think I think you're right. Like for me, it was like my roundhouse kicks. I was like, okay, that was perfect. We just need it a little bit higher. Can you hold it right here? And again, too, we were going through the movement, but we would also have to hold it still at different levels, and then it would elevate from there. So, the only thing I can say is my ultimate, my flying pose that's on the side there. But it was just constantly building upon, and then they would also like edit, add, make it bigger, smaller, however it was their image or their imagination of what they wanted it to be.
Yeah, for me it was they didn't really have a shot sheet. They came in with a sheet of paper. They had punch, kick, knee, and then they asked me to fill in the blanks. So mine was like for Johnny Cage, the first special move. John was like, okay, you're gonna throw an energy ball at me. I was like, okay, cool. Okay, how do you want to do that? So a lot of times it was always, how do you want to do it? You want to do this, how do you want to do that? So for Johnny Cage, mine was, we talked about a lot of Big Trouble in Little China. And I also played D&D with Tobias when we were younger. So I was like, well, that would be cool. If everybody remembers in Big Trouble in Little China, there was a character called Egg Chen. And he was this old guy, just like me. And he would pull out magic from his bag. And I was like, oh, that's just like D&D. So I was like, well, what if I grab from my 9 demon bag and threw out some dice at him, but the dice changed into a glob of energy. So, you know, the first projectile was like, he was like, okay, we're going to do that. And it just stayed like that. So for the first game, we kind of would stay with, the actor would make a special move, and then we would just excel from there. Like Rich DiVita was like, oh, I want to rip out a heart. And then so John was like, okay. So Richard ripped out the heart and actually munched on it like an apple. And he was like, whoa, no, we can't do that. You know, John was just like, just hold it up. So Rich, you know, would rip it out, hold it up, and I was like, just man, it would be cool if it was like still beating. And then so, you know, we got things like that, or things like originally Ed was like, I want you to, for the ninjas, he's like, you're going to like have a lasso like a cowboy and throw it over a person and pull him over. And I looked at Ed and I was like, man, I'm not doing any Wonder Woman.
And say, come on over here, yo.
So I was like, so I pitched them the idea of the rope dart. I was like, there's an actual weapon in Chinese, a real weapon in Chinese martial art. It's a dart to pull people off their horses, and like an anti-cavalry weapon. And so John was like, okay, let's do that. So while I was doing that, Rich DiVita yelled out, get over here. And so that actually stayed in the game, you know, just from Rich doing that. So we got a lot, for the first game it was very, very general. Like no basic, oh yeah, they didn't even know anything. So yeah, so we got to really map out for the first two games of how to do special moves. You know, I got a big input into every special move, everything 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's actually a really good example of the evolutions of moves there. That's awesome. That's a really good story.
Yeah. Oh, another question? No.
What was actually the idea of humanity, friendship, and animality?
Yeah, just a goofy evolution of what else can we do? Like, because you know, once he had the fatality, I think it was like a direct response to Killer Instinct in many ways. Killer Instinct, you know, kind of raised the bar on fighting games in many ways, like in forms of entertainment. And so I think at the time we were like, wow, okay, they're getting kind of goofy here. This is actually fun. Like they have some fun stuff. They've taken it from where we are to a level. Let's volley back with something else. And that's where all these other, just almost like a parody of themselves. Okay, a fatality. How about a babality? Like what's the goofiest thing? And then how about a friendship move? And how about, so all the animalities or whatever it is. So that's an evolution of just trying to add more things to discover, be entertaining, because every one of those is trying to entertain the audience, make people laugh and make people have, and then give something to people to talk about and to try to, you know, figure out, and questions like that. Why would they do something like this? Just to be goofy. That's pretty much it, yeah.
I remember the first time I saw a friendship of John Parrish with a scissor, and he did like this.
Right, exactly. And it was in a direct response almost to the people complaining that this move has fatalities. You're actually telling the kids that they have to kill their opponent. It's like, okay, let's not kill, let's just be friends. There you go. That's much more fun.
Yeah, actually the first friendship was made by Liz Malecki, who did the original Sonya. We wanted to do a fatality. We were like, okay, we're gonna do a fatality. And she looked at John and she was just like, well, why do I have to kill him? Why can't I just give him a flower? Why can't we just be friends? And then we just started laughing, but I think that at that point the goofiness started really to steamroll over and be like, oh, okay, you know.
And that's what gives the game personality.
Yeah.
One of the things.
So, were there any other questions?
Way back. I'm trying to think. Yeah, let me think for a second here. and if I could even talk about it, because this is getting recorded. So there were certainly things that were shot, and I'd like to talk about, because I was working in the same hallway as those guys, even making the games I was working on, and you would hear things happening in the office with sound effects and babies, and weapons, and so there were things like that, like fatalities. I'm not even going to say it, but anyway, there were things like that that would happen that were just joking around that we would all laugh about and go, yeah, that could never, ever, ever go into the game because we get so much bad press, which ends up being a good thing, unfortunately, but that's not what we wanted to do for Midway. So yes, the answer is yes, and I can't tell you about them all. So there were things that happened like that, and I wish I could talk more about it, but since we're all being recorded, I can't.
Sal is trouble.
So, who had an input, did you guys have an input on the Animalities by chance in MK3? Like, the Animalities that were selected for each character? Like, did you get to select your Animality, or did you get to say, okay, this is what it is? And then my next question is, what other elements you guys wish you guys had in the game?
Yeah, again, I can't remember. It was so long ago. And like I said, there's so much back and forth evolution on stuff. As far as Animalities, I think that it wasn't more about the animal that was the creature. It was how it was going to happen. Like, how devastating was that animal going to, destroy your opponent? So, like the dragon may have been the first one. And
Yeah, actually, when we asked Paul's son what he wanted to do for his fatality, he looked at John and he was like, "Can I change into a dragon and eat you?" And John was like, "Okay, let's do that."
Yeah.
And again, as Sal said, this is at least for 1 and 2, because those are the only games I worked on. But it was always, we would do whatever, we would take the best idea and just run with it, no matter who it came from. It was like, if you came up with an idea, we would run it. If his idea was better or her idea was better, we would always just run with that. So
there was certainly no like spite or pride or anything like that. Everybody's ideas were welcome, right?
We had people, and especially on number 2, we would have people from other games while we were filming just come in and just be like, "Oh, well, it'd be cool if we do this," and we'd be like, "Okay, let's try to do that." Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, so and I don't remember, like I said, it was more about how it was going to destroy your opponent rather than what the creature was, and that was the designers and the animators, putting in their magic to make it look as devastating as possible and as comical and entertaining as possible. So you have to always throw credit to it.
And I think too, like, I remember John would always ask, "This is what we want you to do. How would you do it?" So if we had a base from the 1 and 2, so like I knew like my fighting stance, I knew like the box, sitting on the box, the fallback, the drops, the running, but other things they really did want our input, so this is what we want it to look like, or this is what we're thinking, how would you do that? So like I said, we were able to really create that.
Going back to the controversy, when they were showing clips of Mortal Kombat in Congress of all things. Yeah, I wish that mics.
So, my name's Joe. Going back to the controversy, when they were showing clips of this in congressional hearings, it was mainstream. Did that affect you guys personally in any way? Did you guys run into anybody who knew how you guys were in the game? I guess my question is, did you have any personal much getting into controversies?
Well, there's always an emotional response to "screw you,"
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
That's the first thing you want to say.
Spit on you in the street, or so, you know what I mean? Like
that's the first thing I want to say. And of course, I'm going to be responsible by saying it's no secret that anybody watching violence in any form, books, movies, videos, games, whatever it is, on the wrong mind, it can have an impact in some way if you're not balanced, right? So it's important to understand that we're not completely absolvent of anything. You know, it's fun, but at the same time, there's a lot of benefit, and it comes from everywhere. It can come from anything, not just entertainment. It can come from conversations. Yeah, I'm gonna beat this guy and do this and do this. And yeah, I'm gonna do that. And you go off and you do it to somebody else. Or parents beating on their kids. That has a cascading effect as well, right? So it's not just entertainment that this stuff, you know, affects people in. That being said, you understand it, you say, yeah, you know what, okay, so let's say there's a point with that, but don't focus on video games. Focus on society in general. And I don't mean to get political here. Is there a soapbox? I don't mean to get political here, but that was the first thing I thought. I was like, you know what, they're focusing too much on video games, and it's everywhere. It's everything and everywhere. So while there is some merit to that, that's where people like Lia come in as a mom, as a parent, to face it head on. Let the stuff enter your kid's head and then teach them how to process it properly. So they don't grow up to be little psychopaths. They see what they see, just as everybody here. You guys see what you see, but you're not going to go off, I hope, you're not going to go off and hurt people because of it.
Yeah, I think that there's the blame game, and everybody wants to point to somebody else, and I think we can all recognize that in our own lives. And, video games, it's just something else to blame, just something else to blame. But again, it's just having that ability to recognize the difference in that it is a video game. And for me, I've been very fortunate. I haven't received any hate mail or threats or anything like that. Yeah, because, even though Sindel's character, there's some feedback, like, some don't love her so much, some love her a lot, Serena as well. So I am sensitive. I do read and pay attention to how the fans feel. And, for me, I've been very fortunate where I've actually gotten a lot of thank you mail and thank you for being a part of my life and you're such an inspiration. And because they see that outside of that character, how I do live my life and what I'm about. So that is kind of the benefit of being able to have the social media space that we have, but also too, it's how we portray ourselves and who we are that I think ultimately will be the message so that it won't hopefully have such a negative impact.
To expound on what Lia was saying, many interviews that we've been doing, that was always the topic of discussion. How do we feel about violent video games and our kids? And like Lia said, mine was very simplistic. One, if you don't want your kids to play the game, then don't buy it. And a lot of parents used to come up to me and say, oh, it's so violent, it's so this, it's so that. I said, well, can I ask you a question? A couple of them. They said, sure. Does your kid have a job? They said, no. So they don't work, and they have no income, right? Yeah. And each one of these games costs $60 a pop. Right. So I'm trying to figure out how did the kid get the game? Now, you don't want the kid to play the game, you don't buy it, but they got friends. They go to their friends' home and play it. So the question is, who is responsible for teaching your child what is real and what is not real? Are you going to have them react the way you're reacting by saying, oh my God, video games are violent? Well, so was Road Runner and Bugs Bunny. Yeah. I've never seen anyone, Tasmanian Devil, it ate things. That was its job. How many times did Wile E. Coyote get an anvil dropped on his head? I've never seen a human get back up from that. And I've never really seen anyone drop one on somebody's head. So it goes back to the question, in this society, who is teaching the children? Right. Is the media teaching the children? Are the parents have just given up? My daughter has been around video games, since she was born, and, I have it in the house, but we don't play. Not because I don't want her to play, it's just not our thing. The first thing she learned was computers at the age of 4. But we played different video games, we played educational games. That's what she liked to do. Now, she'll play with them every now and then, but then you still have to look at parents and say, who's going to teach your children what? I said, now that she gave them an iPhone and a Droid, how many violent I mean, and they're free to download and play. No one complains about them. They didn't complain about the violent cartoons when we were growing up, you know. So it just goes back to the parents are the responsible ones, not society, not the government, not Congress who drug Ed Boon and John Tobias up there. Okay, it's the parents. So if the parents teach the kid that, oh my God, if you try to shelter them, they're going to go somewhere else and get it.
Right.
And now we got YouTube. It's all out there.
Yeah, there's
you guys
no
know.
protecting.
But then we have fans like you. And it's a multitude, thousands and thousands of you. Got this guy right there? Not him. But we got thousands of you, you know, who talk to us and chat with us. And you guys see that we are more than just the character in the game. Okay, yes, I'm Jackson the Game, and this is Sindel, Johnny Cage, we got Shane Song, okay? But we're more than that, and you see it. And everybody else with our social media sees it. Okay, all of the positive things we do. So we don't portray, oh, this violence, we're gonna rip out somebody's heart or kick them upside the head. No, we can't do that. But that's not what we're about. You know, it's a positive thing. But again, the parents are the ones who are inevitably are the ones responsible.
And just to go into that a little bit and back into my position about the positive, which John just spoke about, you know, we all have that in us that, yeah, I mean, that's why Mortal Kombat is the success it is because there's the win, you know, that sensation that you feel when you win, when you have that flawless victory, you know, or the ultimate fatality. There is a sensation that that game inspires within you, and we all need that outlet. And so if you're not a physical, you know, active person, and this is your outlet, then so be it. But understand that this is your outlet. This is, you know, a world of its own. It's a positive escapism as long as you understand and recognize that. Yeah.
Working at Midway early on when Mortal Kombat was first being developed with the first few characters, I remember going out, like just being frustrated, working in my office, or I worked with Mark Trammell, and if you guys ever know him, we used to like, you know, butt heads a little bit, and he'd frustrate me, and I'm like, and I'd go out to the game, and I would just uppercut, you know, somebody over and over and over again, like 17 times, and then finish with a nut punch and just go, and then walk back inside, and I'd be fine, I'd be happy.
And actually, when Brian and I were engaged, we would be at home and we would play Mortal Kombat. I would play my character and I would just kick him over and over and over again, and then the fight was resolved. So there is positive to it. And again, we're fortunate that we have this opportunity with Doc to share with you who we are, and that I think is only going to help support the growth of Mortal Kombat and support the community and support, you know, more opportunity for the gaming world itself to be recognized as it actually, sometimes that darkness does bring out the light.
Yeah, so it can be a medicine as well as anything else, I think. And we did, I remember early on, we did get death threats from people outside early in the days when it was being, you know, our studio would receive bomb threats. We actually had to evacuate. Yeah, we had to evacuate a couple times. And it was, you know, some fanatical group that was, and they think they're doing, you know,
and that'll show you to be violent.
That right there is the hypocrisy, which I can't say, I guess. You can't threaten violence to fight violence. You know, you have to try to. So anyway, we hopefully can convey that video games are not the only medium where violence is coming out or these bad thoughts are being instilled into the public. It comes from everywhere, and you can't stop it. There is no sheltering of people. You can only give them the tools, your kids and everybody, the people around you, the tools, because you may have some grown-up friends that aren't so stable, right? You can only give them the tools to battle those crazy thoughts and to stop them from doing terrible things by talking sense into them and giving them some other outlet, like, hey, join the army or something, or do something where...
Come do a mud run.
Or work out.
Come work out, baby.
Go work out. There's nothing like the endorphin rush.
And you guys witnessed that yesterday.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, we saw you. We We saw you all sweaty.
I was just gonna ask, like, by the time your characters were brought to you guys, design pretty much fully idealized, or did you guys have input into it at all? And then on top of that, did they ever maybe bring a character to you that had a costume and stuff that you tried to shoot that they scrapped? And then I would also ask, what is your guys' favorite fatality out of them all?
So for Sindel, they pretty much already had her ready to go. I did contribute to the makeup because I can't recall, but
I remember the concept drawing wasn't the same.
yeah, it looked a little, yeah, so I did have some participation in that, and also with Serena, I definitely did. I kind of wanted to do the white little strip because it was me playing two different characters, but in the same. So it was like that, and then Serena's makeup I definitely did. The tattoo that they had, that was already in the draft, and her attire was already in the draft.
Well, as I remember, Jax went through two phases. The first one, Jax had on the yellow outfit. And when I first put it on, I'm like, okay. And they wanted me to do a high kick, a jumping high kick. And I said, I don't think this is going to work. Because it was the way my body is shaped and how large my legs are. And I'm like, and the crotch was kind of tight. And I said, it's not going to work. And they said, well, just give it a shot. So when I jumped up, the first thing when my leg went up, you just heard the rip. And at that point, they said, that's not going to work. Really? So on the fly, they went and got some tights, some kind of way. And Jax became shirtless. Now the sketch itself had Jax just the way you saw it. But I don't know what happened when I got there. They put the suit on. But they went right back to the way the sketch looked. Tights, utility belt, and ready to rock, you know. But other than that, you know, we were ready to go. I think the way the metal arms came about, I'm not for sure, but I was complaining that everybody in Mortal Kombat 2 had special powers and toys and gadgets to strangle folks and pull them in, but me. Some of this little bow thing that flew off my arm. And some kind of way they miraculously came with some metal arms in the next one. But other than that, yeah, that was the only transformation.
So the question was costuming and moves, or no?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, anyway.
No.
Yeah. He's older. But anyway, so for my script, they only had very basic stuff, and we got to basically give the input, final or not, to what we wanted to do, like the fighting pose. You know, Taekwondo would be like this, but I did not want to be any more comfort than I was, vanity or not. I wanted to show my physique, so that's why I put my arms down here rather than up here, okay? And then high kicks, they just said high kick. I said, well, this could be a high kick, this could be a high kick, and then they chose which high kick. Well, which high kick to ultimately put in there. So that went on. So they had high kick, low kick, so forth, and then we actually got to do it, and then they chose out of what we did.
Yeah, for me, they asked, what do you have in your closet? We didn't really have a budget. And originally, the concept for the first character was Striker. So Striker was going to be the first one filmed. So John was like, you have clothes that would make you look like a cop? And I was like, I guess so. Just wear something that doesn't match. And, and he was like, okay, we're gonna, that's what the first costume was going to be. And even when so we had it planned out to do Striker, and then some management saw the idea, the concept of the game, and came up with this brilliant idea of taking the ideas that we already have and giving them to Van Damme. So when Van Damme asked for money, they were like, wait a minute, we didn't want to spend any money on this game. They came back to us, and then John was like, do you have any spandex? Can you wear some spandex from your home? And I was like, okay. So, yeah, a lot of the characters for the first game were done, mine was from home, and then John and I would go out to, like, the martial arts store or someplace else and piece together costumes that he had in mind.
What was the name of that, of the logo, the type of the pants you wore? Was it Atomics or something?
Yeah, actually,
They kept that in there. Yeah, I think they kept that in there. That was not paid for by anybody. We got no approval to do that.
Well, the whole thing was, we were at Phillip and I and his son were at a signing at a martial arts tournament, and the owner of Atomics came up to us and said, hey, next time you shoot for the next game, will you wear my stuff? And I was like, I think I could do that. And he gave me like 8 pairs of shoes, 6 pairs of pants. He just sent a bunch of stuff over it.
Oh, I didn't realize that. And so
so I wore it, and John was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And we shot it like that, and then Ed came and he looked at us and said, what are you guys doing? In the earlier days during shooting, I didn't see Ed a lot, only when he was going to buy us dinner, because he had the company credit card. So we would always say, hey, call him up. Ed, do you want anything else in the game? He'd be like, no, I'm sure what you guys are doing is fine. And then John would be like, will you buy him dinner? And then Ed would be like, yeah, we got to buy him dinner. Go ahead, order some food. So later on, he came in and he was like, those are logos. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I think I paid any money to put them into the game. And we realized then John was like, no. Ed was like, well, take whatever you have and we're going to blank it all out, blank their logos out. So in the end, Ed Boon made the call to not put our friend's logo. But when I called the guy and explained to him, he's like, hey, don't worry about it, just shoot some pictures. As you see, just shoot some pictures for me and give them to me. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. They got some free clothes.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that whole story. That's cool.
Yeah, I got a nice leather jacket.
Yeah. So the last question, I don't even know if we answered it. We got into something else.
I was saying, like, if you had input into your costumes.
Yeah, the costumes, yeah. So I think Danny's probably the one that had the most input into all the costumes early on. I think all the other ones, the kookier ones, I know for sure Nightwolf, those had to get all special made ahead of time. So, and the robots had to all get special made at the time. So I don't think there was much input there, at least from me. I know that I hated the robot helmet, wearing that thing for like acting out. So it was so badly weighted, and if I had my way, I would have taken it off a long time ago and glued something to my head and painted my face rather than wear that helmet. But obviously glad we didn't. But no, I don't remember having any input or feedback on outfits.
I think one was so successful that number 2 had like a kind of a budget, not a big budget, but they were willing to spend a little bit more money. Like except for on Phillip. Phillip actually still has the pants for.
These are my pants and these are my shoes. I still have them.
Yeah.
And this is just a generic Chinese cap that you can get in Chinatown, and I don't know what those are, but those are cheap.
I think that you were the one who asked for that.
Oh, really? like Mortal Kombat 3, we had a costume designer. Yeah. And it was uncomfortable at times.
That's about it.